Last week, DFS wasn't that great to me. The double up, the cash games, we missed that on a little bit. I'm okay with that. The tournaments, 2 points away from taking down two of those and taking two first place. Could have been over $600 on DraftKings. Could have been, would have been, should have been, but we are closing on the trail. Let's get back to it. Buffalo with Miami to start us off Thursday night. I realized upon seeing this, some of you were already seen the game, so call me if I'm wrong. Fins didn't look that good last week, even though they got the job done. Jacksonville's mistakes uh, did them in, and of course Tyreek Hill is fast. Defensively, the Fins looked better than expected, but at times Trevor Lawrence and company were still able to move the ball at will, basically. Defensively, the Fins looked better than expected, as I said, but Buffalo, for their part, did not look great defensively. On the other side of the ball, we saw a lot of what we anticipated from them. Khalil Shakir caught that touchdown, and his usage was encouraging. Kincaid and Knox both got 2 targets, and Knox got more yards. It's not Kincaid, man. Josh Allen is still the primary runner. We learned that. Thursday is a short week, not good for the Miami backfield. Mostert is out, and Achan is to play, is trending down currently. Wilson and Wright could be the combo in the backfield. Finn's O-line was much better than anticipated last week, and we'll see if they can keep it up. I will, however, take Buffalo on the road this week. Miami did their usual thing and kept Jacksonville in the sun all afternoon. But this one is Thursday night, so the Dolphins won't have an advantage from the heat. Bills' secondary looked vulnerable, so I expect Tua and the receivers to be able to get good production and attempt to run the score up. But Buffalo can keep up thanks to Allen. His rushing upside is the cherry on top in a shootout they should win on the road and get the Bills to 2-0. Moving on to Vegas at Baltimore. Vegas in an early game on the road out east to play Baltimore. Ruck road for them. The Ravens are without a doubt the more complete team, I should say, of the two. And the deficiencies are going to shine through in this game, guys. Derrick Henry, going to find pay dirt. And we'll see how many yards those legs can tack on along with that on Sunday. That'll be his ceiling. Lamar's in play, and I still like Edwards. Likely showed what he could do if you choose to double Mark Andrews and force him to beat you. So, I would not look for him to have the day that he had last Thursday, although he's still going to be out there running routes also. The Ravens defense should be able to have a prime day as well. It's a bounce-back victory in the home opener. And on the Raiders side of the things, I can't condone anything else besides Devontae Adams. We saw this Baltimore defense lock up Kelsey, so the budding Bowers will have to wait another week. He'll have his hands full in this one. Cleveland at Jacksonville this week. I think Cleveland can win this game. Ridiculous to be having more stuff come out about Deshaun Watson, and we don't have facts yet, so I'll leave out room for conjecture. He plays, they can win. This is a much easier matchup than the Cowboys. Ford and Cooper should be fine, but with Njoku out, I'm not too interested anywhere else. And of the two, I think maybe Ford is safer for cash games. Cooper more of a tournament play. With the Jaguars, Etienne's going to share time with Bigby, who looked good last week. So unless it's seasonal, we don't need to go there for DFS. Cleveland has a tough D. It'll be a long day for Jacksonville offense. In the season-long play, I like Christian Kirk, got him. If you're using Brian Thomas for seasonal, 50-50 on that. But Evan Ingram should be okay to play. The Jets at Tennessee. So, guys, the Jets should be able to bounce back this week. Tough game, obviously, against the 49ers last week. Alan Lazar was able to connect with his old buddy, Aaron Rodgers, twice. And I like him again this week. L'Jarius Sneed, great acquisition for the Titans. And so was Jamal Adams, who says he's going to play against the Jets this week, his former team. These are the pieces that fit this unit, that fill this unit out so that they become, a not easy day for the Jets, I should say. Garrett Wilson and Mike Williams should be busy, but I think Rodgers can find his guy Lazard a couple of times again in the end zone. Can't see Breece Hall breaking any records, but he should be fine. The Titans are stout up front, but they will get him the rock. And his floor is a modest double-digit fantasy point game with the ceiling being a couple tutties on top of that. Moving on to San Francisco 49ers going up to Minnesota to take on the Vikings. Minnesota is overmatched in every way, even with Jordan Mason probably starting from McCaffrey again. The 49ers defense can be the star of the show in this one. Too much talent. They can force turnovers and definitely change the landscape of the game in just a minute. Mason will be popular this weekend in daily fantasy, but I don't think we can. I think we can get there with other guys. I don't think we need to go there. Purdy is a fine option, though, in DFS land this week, and I'll be having exposure to that. And it makes sense because all of his weapons are in play at his behest. Even Mason can catch passes from him. So it makes sense to fire him up this weekend in the spot where it does make sense for his team to lean on him a little bit more. Even if Mason is a dog, like people want to say, you can't risk running him hard into injury because you're already short at running back. So I expect a more balanced approach from the 49ers this week. Better for Debo, better for IU. Kittle also in play. Those will all have to be tournament plays, though, except for Purdy, who I really like for cash. LA Chargers going to travel east to take on the Carolina Panthers, and what will feel like an early morning game for this West Coast club. Never you mind, though, the Panthers are overmatched at every turn. Herbert makes sense as a cash game QB this weekend, especially with his low price tag, and no need to pair him with a single guy. If anything, playing with Dobbins, but I'm sure I can get there, somewhere else. I don't think I can get to those two this weekend. Probably play Herbert alone. Chargers D looks like the play to have here. That's the play for this game. Harbaugh's Chargers get the dub. Seattle Seahawks going to go out east to take on the New England Patriots. Patriots should be amped up for this home game after that road win last week against the depleted Cincinnati Bengals. Coach Mayo's guys showed up. They were ready, and Jacoby Brissett, for his part, was able to minimize the mistakes, and he used his legs when he absolutely needed to. Early morning feels for the Seahawks in this one, too, because of the travel. Kenneth Walker is also banged up. Look, the last game, we saw some good from Geno. We saw a tiny bit of other stuff from Geno, but kind of good. He needs to play as well as he did last week or better this week. Find Metcalf, take some pressure off the ailing backfield. Smith and Jigba look great. He is an asset. The Patriots seem to be enjoying this coaching turnover, and they're playing hard for their guy, but I think Seattle can go on the road and steal a tough one. Birds on the road. New Orleans Saints are going to travel to Dallas. Big D is ready for the Dallas home opener, y'all. But I don't know if New Orleans is. Derek Carr is Jekyll and Hyde. Just when you think you know what you have, he poops the bed. Can't be trusted. This is a huge step up from the Carolina Panthers. Kamara is in play. They need to get to him. I think screens and short passes to offset the Dallas rush is probably a very good idea for this offense. These are parts of the games that Kamara traditionally excels at. The New Orleans D won't be able to hold. Lamb is going to get his. Cooks benefits from Ferguson being banged up, but the Dallas D might score here. They're that good on that side of the ball. I have some small interest in Rico Dowdle. What's Dallas going to do in garbage time if they get up big with Cowboys roll? On to the Giants, going to visit the Commanders in this divisional rivalry. Jaden Daniels is very tiny, and he is bound to get hurt, but it's cool to watch until then. These are not design plays. The play breaks down, he does a thing. He scores from the goal line, which hampers Brian Robinson's upside, but in this one in particular, I think both guys can still be in play. I'm staying away from Eckler. Commanders D should be usable if needed. Malik Neighbors looks very interesting, guys. He's going into my cash game lineup. You can count on that. He's too cheap, and he's getting too good targets, especially against this defense this week. They just don't have the personnel. He wants to be a winner. Go Tigers. Divisional platter of poo-poo. Commanders win a close one at home. Tampa Bay going on the road to Detroit. I am looking forward to this one, y'all. These two played each other twice last year, okay? Once in October and then again in the divisional round of the playoffs. And the Lions won both, but we did learn a lot along the way. The defense from both sides held up for like the early part of the games. And then in the end, we saw offensive bursts that ultimately decided the outcome in both games. Amon-Ra St. Brown could not be stopped, especially on third down. Baker Mayfield turnovers were the difference maker each time. Detroit used their runners interchangeably and effectively in the screen game to offset the aggressive Tampa Bay defense. Rachaad White, hear me when I say this, is not the best running back on the Buccaneers. Bucky Irving is the best guy in the backfield for those Bucks, baby. Say that 10 times fast. Mike Evans feasted also, and I can see that happening again in this one. The two wide receivers, not dogs. I'm thinking golden receivers. The wide receiver ones intrigue me, and so does Baker Mayfield. And so I will do a tournament lineup to reflect that, and I'll pepper in some cheaper running backs that with cash game promise to balance out that lineup and make it work money wise. It's giving big brother, little brother though. Detroit's going to win again. Indianapolis on the road to Green Bay. No love for Green Bay is concerning, especially, here I expect Indy to stuff the box and force Malik Willis to beat them over the top if he can. It's going to be a tough game for Josh Jacobs, and I'm not interested in any of the receivers. The Indy defense is in play, and I do like JT, Jonathan Taylor. Richardson in the passing game won't need to do as much here. Even if he runs around and gets his, the wideouts are still at risk. Too much so that I won't play them. In a game that I feel the second unit gets involved as Indy gets up and gets comfortable. A part of great production, guys, in the NFL is when a team needs to push itself against a better opponent. We don't have a better opponent. The LA Rams going to go out and visit their divisional rivals, the Arizona Cardinals, in the desert in Glendale. Arizona coaching said they try to get the ball to Harrison. Kyler Murray said it's not his job to force the ball to one guy. Okay, so I like Greg Dortch in this one, who Murray was looking at for last game again, and also Connor. We played him in cash games last week, and it was good for us. On the Rams side, I do like Kupp and I do like Kyron. Stafford is okay. They're just better options for fantasy purposes. For the Rams' real purposes, he will be fine. Rams defense will play a bit better than the Cardinals, and that will be the difference in this one. Rams on the road, but I really do like Kupp. Probably can fit him in cash games. Pittsburgh Steelers on the road to visit the Denver Broncos. Bo Nix did some decent things last week, and we also saw him make some mistakes too. Growing pains is all. But based on what we saw, we already knew this, but based on what we saw, he's learning on the job, and that is something that we should be exploiting. The Pittsburgh defense has a nice matchup this week. Turnovers are definitely on the table in this one. Najee Harris, too. Denver sucks against the run. If Fields plays again, he will exploit that as well. And even if Captain Stiff plays, they can still win this one, the Steelers with Russ Wilson. I'm sure he'd love to get some revenge, too, against the Denver Broncos. If he doesn't suit up for this one, then I don't know what, really, with him. Would love to say Javonte Williams on the other end, but, we've seen Denver underpaid and have some really, really bad complete meltdowns. Not worth it. Steelers get to 2-0 this week, I think, with the only real test for them being conditioning up at Mile High. Moving right along to Cincinnati at Kansas City. So Burrow says he's okay, so I'm sticking with that. It's a nice matchup on the road where they should be chasing, so that's good for production. I will play Chase with him. He's not sitting out without the contract. It's like if he really wanted to screw them guys, he'd sit out. If you underproduce in this game against the Chiefs, I don't know if that advances your efforts for a new deal without leaving a sour taste in Bengal management's mouth or costing us one against Kansas City of all teams. So, I don't think he was kind of, loafing it because it was New England last week. It was his preseason. He hasn't had any activities, getting his legs under him. That this week we will continue to see him get back to form is what I believe. And especially if Higgins sits again, Burrow will have to hook up with him. Zach Moss in play again for sure. For DFS, we probably don't need to get there. Fine for seasonal. Kansas City seems to be more in tune between the two teams right now. Cincy can make it close, but I do not think that they win this one in Kansas City while they are working out the kinks like this. I'm not terribly high on Worthy. He scored on a gadget play and a busted play. And there's not that many targets there, though. It feels more like Kansas City is well-balanced and can spread it around. Kelsey is in play, but I do like Pacheco considerably this week. Kansas City keeps it going, but the Bengals walk away looking a bit more like themselves. Sunday night, we move on to Chi-Town visiting Houston. The Bears defense bailed out Caleb Williams last week. No mistake about that, and he got his first win as an NFLer. He had a ton of near misses, or near makes, I should say, and he targeted Keenan Allen 11 times on all parts of the field. That's good. He will be better this week. The Bears will have a more concerted effort to run the ball all also, so they can take some pressure off of Caleb. So Swift owners should see a step forward in production, some positive regression coming for us there. Houston will win this game, and it's up to the Bears QB to decide how much and in what fashion. That's up to you, bro. Stroud looked great last week. Let me say that again. Stroud looked great last week. He is a pure weapon, and Stephon Diggs is his alpha. But Nico Collins was extremely visible as well. Bears defense will play them tougher, but there's too many options for Stroud. He could just as well take off himself. Caleb better be watching on the sideline for real when Stroud is out there. Mixon looked good last week, and I like him again this week too. We'll take Houston at home Sunday night. And on to our final game of the week, the Monday night game. The Atlanta Falcons are going to travel to Philly to take on the Eagles. Birds on birds. Cousins looked stiff. He looked stiff as a board last week. He's going to have to work himself back into the groove. It's understandable, with his first game since that horrific injury, you know, that he was kind of, maybe shell shocked a little bit, something like that. I mean, it would make sense if I found out something like that. But he's already not that mobile. He cannot become a statue back there, refusing to even move his feet at all, forcing those budget throws. He should be better this week against a secondary that provides a little more give, if you will, in the Eagles. We know they aren't anything to be afraid of. We talked about this last week, and Green Bay was able to exploit them as we credibly thought they would. Philly will win this one, though. There's too many assignments for the Falcons to cover on defense. Play your Eagles and pray for your Falcons. Bird on bird, Crowns going down on Monday night. Eagles going to rule the roost. That's it. That's what I got for you guys for week 2. Side note, if you want stardom sit-ups, this guy or that guy, all that stuff, you can hit me on Twitter, comment or message on Spotify, YouTube. Find me, I'll find you. Good luck Sunday. Let's meet right back here next weekend. Learn, scout, win, or repeat.